Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Historical Humans podcast. And we have made it to the end of season 2, our season finale, and the jump back to where it all began. But before we get there, my name's Justin Woods, and I'm joined today by my fellow co hosts, Coleman and Aaron Gilpin. And this one
Oh,
is a quite the emotional connection for you, Colum, because this
Yeah.
was the impetus of us kickstarting this whole shebang.
Yes. So for our season 2 finale, we decided we would go back to the very, very, very first video concept that historical humans ever had. In fact, prior to uh, even meeting any of the lovely people with whom I now work here, there was a video that I put together on this topic. And that video actually, I believe, is still out there in the world somewhere. We've sort of left it
Oh.
on an adjacent channel. I believe it's same or similar name. It's been forever since I looked at it, but we've decided to leave it there
Yeah, if you
for
find it, leave a
posterity.
comment.
Uh, the subject here is the Nazca Lines, and so for our season 2 finale here to celebrate, getting through 2 years of doing this all together, we figured we'd do what started the concept of even trying this in the first place. It's been a hell of a journey with you all. We made it to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube this year, so we're happy with that. We are growing, and we're very much looking forward to launching season 3 in the coming month.
Which there are some hot and heavy topics in the chamber for that one, so please stay tuned because this is going to be the spiciest season we've done, and it is great because Aaron and I fought for a lot of good
I,
topics.
oh my
I have
God,
been
I'm
I
the
have been
cop.
slowly losing creative control as time goes on. Please
I
subscribe or like this video to let people know that I should be choosing the videos and not these two.
I have got some pretty chaotic ones on there. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
Uh, but yes, it has been a great 2 years. We're glad. Thank you for everyone who has tuned into any of our episodes or any of our other content. We're very happy to do it. But yes, without much more ado, let's jump into the Nazca Lines, something that is maybe the source of a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of different ideas, a lot of history, but they're just really cool at the end of the day.
Yeah, very, very controversial, very interesting topic. So the Nazca lines, the first thing to understand about them is we got to figure out just what these are. And by that, we don't mean all the wonderful theories about why they're there and who built them, but just physically what is present is where we're starting from. So the first thing you need to know about the Nazca lines is that they're what are known as geoglyphs. Now, these are large designs produced on the ground from durable elements of the landscape. It's literally an earth picture.
I draw a picture
Oh
on Earth.
Yeah. Geoglyph earth picture.
God, etymology.
Yeah. Thank you, Latin.
Just wait till you figure out what petroglyphs are.
I'm gonna stab you. No.
Yes. As the violence rages around me with my two co-hosts, as per usual. The second thing to understand about the Nazca lines is where they are, and that is, their general location, and they are in what is known as the Pampa Colorada, which is an arid coastal plain in southern Peru. It's located between the Ingenio and Nazca River valleys, northwest of the city of Nazca. You begin to see a naming pattern here. Uh, with the Nazca lines, the Nazca River Valley, the city of Nazca, made by the Nazca people. This is
what
just going
what
to keep
what was
coming
that
up.
comment about entomology or etymology, not entomology?
Oh no, the bugs have gotten to
The
us.
bug people are making the lines.
No,
The
no.
etymology of the naming.
Fun fact:
Oh,
one of the most famous Nazca lines is a depiction of an insect.
Even better. The
Yep,
entomology of the
yep.
is it
etymology.
an ant?
It is the Nazca spider.
Oh, that's not an. It's not a bug.
It's an arachnid.
It's
It's
not a
an
bug,
arachnid, which is a subset of insects.
isn't it? No,
Oh,
it's not.
We're not getting into classification of genus.
Let's go. Taxonomy time,
No,
everybody.
no, no,
Get the
no,
biology
no.
alert.
I'm getting the taxonomy tree. Where's my science book?
This is so much more fun than doing it with little sherds of pottery. Let's go.
Oh man.
Oh.
Put 1 point. We get a little chart up here. 1 pointless science argument. Please check that off our bingo cards. Those of you playing along at home.
The historical humans bingo card. That's got to be an awful checklist.
It is truly terrifying, Justin. It truly is. I'm pretty sure your goatee is the free space.
Hey now.
Anyway, they are located about 400 kilometers south of the city of Lima, which I believe is the main city of Peru today.
It is their capital.
Yes, I am not wrong in saying that. And these lines, they are absolutely massive. They cover a total area of 190 square miles, or about 500 square kilometers. So they cover a massive chunk of space. That's honestly one of the hardest things to fathom about these, is because they are not a vertical construction like many other monuments, like the pyramids or the Leaning Tower. Their sense of scale is kind of lost just because it's all horizontal.
How many football fields is that?
Aaron, don't perpetrate the American stereotype that we'll use anything but the metric system.
On the assumption that a football field is 100 yards,
what's the conversion?
that would probably put this at something like 1,900 football fields.
Hold on, wait. I'm gonna pull up the conversion table.
I am doing very crude math right now. Well, he looks for that. These lines were constructed by the Nazca people approximately 2,000 years ago. The Nazca culture was a culture in southern Peru that lasted from about 200 BCE to 600 CE. Aaron is still doing math, though. That's terrifying. He's really committed to it, guys. I don't know if you can see.
That's a lot of yards.
Did you talk about how long the culture lasted?
It's about 200 BC to 600 CE, so it's about 800 years.
I broke the calculator.
Oh my God, Aaron!
I broke the internet.
Stop!
I broke the internet calculator.
At 800 years, though, so they were around for a pretty decent bit of time, and it's kind of interesting to see that this is the lasting impact, and for them to be, roughly 2,000 years old for the depiction and the designs. That's honestly very impressive that they've lasted, except for the main one. There's I always think of the famous man example that has the road.
Wait, what? That one? What?
Oh yeah, there's been damage to a number of the Nazca lines over the years. People don't always respect it. It's pretty bad.
I mean, I understand, people wanting to put, I understand the normal wear and tear. People are just dumb, but I didn't think people were dumb enough to just drive a thing put a road through it.
Yeah, no, there's a highway right through the middle of it.
Yeah.
What?
It's the quickest way to connect these valleys. So welcome to what the government did. Others have been damaged by tourists and whatnot. It is very much a problem. Fortunately, future degradation is punishable. They do have protections now.
But that
they just didn't for the longest time.
And even with the protections, there was an example from maybe 4 years ago at this point of a truck driver purposefully driving through the lines to destroy them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are weird. I mean, hell, they in England they've chopped down the cypress tree right from Cypress Point.
I don't know that tree.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
The
the
beautiful,
16-year-old, the 16,
yeah,
yeah,
60,
on
yeah,
Hadrian's
but
Wall, that
yeah, on
tree.
Hadrian's Wall, yeah. So people are really freaking weird about these things.
For
Uh,
whatever reason. Yeah, like
yeah,
this is kind of reminds me of this one lady. There's a there's a local tale around where one of my first sites where a lot of churches used to have like really nice outside decorations from the medieval period, and this lady just went around just smacking them because she said they had she didn't like how like profane they were. You just started breaking it. It's like, what's wrong with these people?
yeah,
People are strange when you're restrained. But yeah,
yeah.
the lines themselves depict a variety of different figures, anything from plants to animals to geometric forms. Of the designs, though, there's 36 of them that show off biomorphic. They depict some sort of living animal, some sort of living creature.
Yeah.
Wait, so like how many in total are there?
Oh, there are a lot of them. So, in addition to the 36 depictions of living things, there are 300 geometric patterns. Now, these are spirals, trapezoids, shapes, forms, just inorganic objects that are depicted. Uh, and from there are an additional 700 radial lines, which are just lines, just straight lines,
Oh,
no connections.
like are they really straight? Like just one point to the other?
Yeah, they are. They've been described as ruler straight. They have a variance of like less than 1 foot per mile.
Yeah,
That's kind of
incredibly,
cool.
incredibly.
Yeah,
It's and that, to be fair,
it's
is
surgical.
it is part of the reason why there are a lot of conspiracy surrounding it is because of how precise it is. A lot of people struggle to understand that humans had the capability and the mathematics to be able to do this in the past, and a lot of times they view, unfortunately, the indigenous in the Americas to be more primitive, thanks to early colonial rule writing about the primitive people. But
Yep.
they had science, they had math, and they would build things very surgically. I mean, South
Yeah.
I
America, it just.
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
not
no.
that that's like what impresses me is not like how straight they are. It's like just the sheer size because somebody
Aaron,
or like
I say
somebody just
this
went
I say this all the time. No matter what point in history you're looking at, humans are so fucking dumb. Because they always, every single culture, every single place on earth, humans do the exact same things. We create things, we make drawings, we do designs for whatever reason.
I love how that's your excuse for why we're stupid, is that we
yeah.
build stuff.
But
I mean
the
like
thing
this
is,
the sheer size of some of
when
these
you
like
boil
that's
it
just like
down,
it's cool.
when you boil it down, the sheer size, the sheer precision, the fact that someone had an idea of let's make these drawings, let's make these designs, and other people joined them, other people contributed. Like, I say stupid, but I really mean fascinating. Like, it truly, it's what I love about our field and what we do, because the mentality, the thought process that goes behind this stuff and that these people go through when they're creating things like this, I find fascinating. Same with like all the cave paintings that we talk about in our other series, or all the other carvings that you see on Hadrian's Wall and other like Roman forts. Like, humans just create things. We're bored, we doodle, and
Yeah.
like a
Graffiti
lot,
has never gone away.
and
And
art has like just proliferated.
yeah.
Now we
I
make
will
statues, now we make giant figures.
yeah. I will say these are definitely not graffiti. The sheer amount of time dedication that these things take.
There
Uh,
are some graffiti artists that take
you,
a lot of time and do really good artwork
yeah.
with their
Oh,
murals.
oh, they do. Oh, they do. I'm just saying the size of the canvas in use here
Yeah,
is
well,
somewhat of a term. We actually have later on we do get to talk about several scientists did time how long it would take to make some of these. They did time it.
Really? Oh.
Oh yeah, the reconstructive archaeologists were very
uh,
prolific with trying to figure out how these work.
and see, I like how you're very soft on that, calling them What'd you say?
Constructive.
Reconstructive. When in reality, the field refers to them as experimental archaeologists, which
Which
makes you
makes us,
think they're in a lab.
to be fair,
Yeah,
they're
no.
just as crazy though. We're all like all experimental archaeologists, all extremely crazy, but you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
I just find experimental to be such a misnomer. I refuse to use it most of the time.
I'm pretty
Just-
sure. I'm pretty sure they all love the term because it just gives off mad scientist
Literally,
vibes.
like you think in the lab explosion, and you're like, "How is an archaeologist doing that?" And then Hans Schliemann is off in the distance, just watching over
It's
proudly.
like, it's like, so please
Like,
explain to me again why the ballista had fire.
well, you see, we were bored after
No,
reconstructing the ballista, and we
no.
decided after a
It's
few
it,
drinks to light the arrow on fire to see
no,
if it was viable.
it's never boredom. It's always, well, we had to see if it would work once we built it.
Yeah, like we saw historic reports saying that this specific trebuchet could lift as much as a cow. So
So therefore, we have this cow.
Yeah, that is
Recreate the Monty
basically what
Python
gets to
scene.
go on here at the Nazca Lines in a little bit, but we do got a few more things to get through before we get to really do that.
Oh.
So a couple more things. Another thing to that's very key to understanding with the Nazca Lines and with attempts to remake them is that most of the Nazca Lines, almost all of them, consist of a single line that never crosses over itself.
Again, humans are the same.
Yeah.
Have you not
Meaning-
doodled in your notebook in school where you make a
Yeah, and
single
I've
line?
crossed over the line a million times,
See,
Justin.
I
There's a
used to
principle of art at work
no,
here.
see, Colum, I used to do single line artwork where I'd fill an entire page without lifting the pen once or crossing a single line.
Yeah. Well,
Sounds
this
like a
is kind of like
giant
that.
game of snake.
This is yeah, they're giant depictions. And what this allows you to do is it means that if you were to walk along the line, you would be able to follow its path perfectly without ever having to make a decision, come to a crossroads, any sort of without ever having any chance to deviate from it.
Oh my god, is
Huh.
that a way to like bypass the devil? Like you will never encounter him at a crossroads if you never go on a crossroad.
Joke's
Yeah,
on
the
you.
roads can never cross.
Oh my
Joke's
god.
on you. I like being at crossroads. The devil is pretty tired of me.
Anyway, anyway,
This is his punishment for you then.
they were the lines come into scientific view in the 1920s. This is when they are quote unquote discovered. I believe a little bit of research is done on them circa 1927. However, that kind of gets put on hold until the 1940s, which is when after the world calms down for the second time.
I wonder what
And
happened
there's a
there.
weird uptick in Argentinian archaeologists after that.
These are Peruvian.
I know, but there's a joke.
Yeah. These are Peruvian. Don't associate this nation with them. Yeah.
They are Peruvian.
Yeah, they are Peruvians. And the 1940s really sees a lot of people start studying it, including a man we're going to talk about a bunch later called Paul Kosak. Kosak here is the bane of his own existence and everyone who follows, and we will see why.
Oh no,
He is not a bad man. He is not a bad
he did. I know what he
but
did.
he has such a poor sense of humor.
Aaron, it's what I've done about 12 times since we started this episode.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
aware because everybody does it.
Yeah, but no one did it like Kosak.
I don't know.
Today, the lions are a UNESCO World Heritage Site and are thus subject to international protection, something they very much are in need of.
Especially from highway people.
And
Yeah.
trucks.
And
Well-
yeah,
The government, tourists, anyone with a car, they're under constant threat.
And if you want to see more about the UNESCO World Heritage Site, be sure to tune in to our Historical Heritage series, where we're going to go into a nice deep dive of the Nazca Lines.
Oh yeah, that's definitely lined up for this in the season finale here.
Drop it on Thursday. This episode releases on Monday.
Yep. Now, the most fun thing about these lines is when they were discovered and when they were first starting to really be studied, no one really knew what to do with them or what they were, just because, well, the design and the method of construction were different from anything else. Sure, there had been geoglyphs elsewhere in the Americas. You have the Hopewell mound builders, but this wasn't building up large amounts of dirt. This was scraping away a layer of soil and then lining it with rocks. This was these glyphs are etched into the earth, not built on top of it. So that confused a lot of people. Apparently, early archaeology is very easy to confuse.
Well, haven't you ever seen the headlines and the titles of all these news articles? Archaeologists baffled by confusing lines.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently we are very easily bamboozled. One of the key things that confuse people is that the lines, the way their patterns work, they appear to be meant to be viewed from a vantage point from above. And for a lot of people, this did not mean walking up into the Andean foothills, a few miles away and looking down. This meant the power of flight. And that's where a lot of things start happening.
Wait, so you're telling me the big drawings on the flat surface are better viewed from above from a larger vantage point?
Yep. But not from a larger vantage point. We're talking like you got to fly directly over them.
Oh, you mean from
Yep.
above.
Above. Yep. The lines were made famous by a man who made himself famous off the lines by, under the theory that they were made by aliens. Now, the lines being made by aliens was a joke by Paul Kosak made in 1947, and no one has ever forgiven him since.
Because of course aliens are real, didn't you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
Aaron, your audio's not coming through.
we have muted Aaron.
The aliens have gotten Aaron. He has been abducted from above.
Yeah, he has managed to unplug himself somehow. All that math he was doing earlier.
Yeah, the math. The aliens came back with math.
Now, the man who popularizes the lines and who gets famous off it is a man by the name of Eric von Daniken. This man has zero credibility in any scientific field and is just a for-profit author and theme park person who just wants, who's made a living on the basis that indigenous people are too stupid to build anything.
Well, he's definitely got a very strong Argentinian name there. Yeah,
he's Swiss.
Oh, we don't neutrals.
Yeah. He lives in Switzerland, I believe.
Yeah.
Has a theme park. All sorts of alien things. But yeah, this. Yeah. Again, this man gets that theory going, and the train never stops. That being said, Justin, Aaron, would you two like to take over all the reasons why the lines were made by the Nazca? Because that's a here.
The figures themselves tended to also be depicted on their pottery, which is just kind of a weird coinkydink. Why would they be making small designs and then big designs? And then Colum's favorite part about the experimental archaeologists. In 1984, an 11-man team recreated 35-meter long spiral in about 90 minutes, and they did so without a printed plan, which means it was pretty well easy and possible to create the lines without any sort of advanced tech. And it realistically also meant that it would take about 10,000 people less than 10 years to create those lines. The Nazca had 800 years. So that just means that either you had a couple of really busy people, or this just took quite a bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost as if the 800-year history of the Nazca allowed them to build all these lines.
No, they had an
90
alien
minutes?
ship come in that just etched the lines in before they landed, so that way they knew they could land.
Yeah. And one of my favorite ones for why the
90
Nazca
minutes.
made the lines is, if you're going to make something, surely someone has to live nearby when you do it.
It's not like they're gonna
Yeah.
come across graves or like signs of habitation nearby.
Ruins of several Nazca towns and a number of Nazca graves have been found right on top of the lines, like just in the Pampas, Colorado, just in there. It's like, it's almost as if the people living in the desert are also building in it.
Aliens.
Oh, Aaron has
Ah,
returned to us.
ah,
The aliens. Crazy how Aaron could talk right when I said the A word.
not again. First, it
Yep.
was the Pinkertons.
Yeah.
It's still
Listen.
not recovered from the
Yeah.
Pinkertons.
Listen. The Pinky Men and the Allens here really are our two bane. Really are two banes here on the channel.
Oh no,
So,
Aaron's got the pinky.
So anyway, I'm still a little more. Again, I kind of want to go back to the point where you said it took them 90 minutes to do a 35-meter long spiral. 90 minutes? I would have been prepared to spend a whole day doing half that.
Yep.
Yes, but that's because you're a classical archaeologist, Aaron. You guys usually take 8 months to do a 1 meter trench, anyways.
No,
Don't
that's not
don't start. Don't
Oh,
start.
fighting words.
Listen, just because
Listen,
I
you
can't.
prehistoric. Listen,
That's
Mr.
right. Listen, I'll get
Prehistoric
on.
over
I'll
there.
build a
We have
shrine
books.
myself and call it experimental archaeology. I'll do
Anyway.
it.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, all these wonderful things, well, they do prove that the aliens were not involved and that it was in fact the indigenous Nazca people that were doing this. They don't solve one key problem, and that is, where do you go to see them? Cue
Mount-
one man's brilliant solution. A man by the name of Jim Woodman had the brilliant idea to suggest that the Nazca had early experimental hot air balloons and would perform ceremonial hot air balloon flights over the lines. Fun fact about hot air balloons, they're pretty tricky to work with, and they don't exactly steer.
You just light a fire under the balloon and let it fill up.
Yeah.
Oh, Team Rocket did it a lot.
Yeah, and they blast it off like regular.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The Pampas, Colorado, on one side, inhospitable mountain. On the other side, world's largest ocean. Great place to just light up a hot air balloon and just float.
Yeah, it's not the best theory. However, it's kind of a ridiculous fringe theory, but there can be some credibility to trying to find a non-conventional idea that may be a possibility, especially because there is some logic behind it, given the fact that you get a better vantage point from above, and this is without going as far as aliens. But it kind of falls apart when you realize that you can still view the figures from ground level, and if you do end up walking to the low-by foothills, you can see them, but you don't get as good of a view.
Yeah. Guys, I got my own
foothills
theory.
and dunes do provide enough of a vantage point to view the works.
No, it's wrong. It's wrong because I got my own theory. They had trampolines. They just jumped.
Oh, we're talking about the Nazca lines. I thought you said the NASCAR lines.
All right.
I thought they were
Yeah,
just
you
racing around.
All right.
Yeah, these are all just one big racetrack.
Yeah,
for foot
different
races.
racetracks in the desert.
Why not?
There's our new theory for today. It was early American NASCAR.
early being the definition.
Yes. Yeah. But one nice thing to come out of the hot air balloon flight theory was the fact that when it got shot down, It got shot down by people proving that you can go to the places that you go to today to view the lines and still see the lines.
Wait, question. What got shot down? The theory or the hot air balloon?
I imagine a little bit of both. Because I just imagine this man just like preparing to go like full experimental mode, like thinking he's probably like making like the material like the balloon out of like animal hides. He's like, "Don't worry, I've already started." And then they're just like they're calling him over the radio, going, "Hey Jim, we can see him from these hills." And he's just like,
No, Aaron, even better. There's a different group of experimental archaeologists who have flint napped their own spear point, and from the foothills, they use their atlatl and throw the spear to pop the balloon before he takes off.
Oh, you poor fool.
and then they're like, "Wow, actually, we can actually see this." They
Yeah,
weren't
that-
even
that
looking
had
at
to
from
been
the.
like 200 meters. I didn't know we could do that with this.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look at those weird lines. Like they weren't even prepared to look at the lines. They just wanted to really mess with them.
Just looking down. What the hell are all those people doing out there in the desert? The next theory takes it more to the lines themselves and brings us back to the understanding that that the lines are labyrinthine in nature. You can walk along a single path and never come back across yourself under any point. Which leads to the ritual maze theory, which is proposed by Cossack. Yeah, he's back.
I'm back.
And then later, Alan Sawyer. Yes, Sawyer and Cossack. Oh God,
I mean,
it's a pretty decent theory. Like this is Cossack attempting to redeem himself for his joke.
I mean, like, yeah, that kind of seems like a like some sort of ceremonial purpose. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, the idea is that you walk along the lines. Potentially, you walk in them as a sort of ritual procession. Sort of do it as a annual or semi-annual thing. The lines do at various points begin to follow along certain geographic features, and the general concept of a water-based fertility ritual for a desert people is not that uncommon. A number of those have been noted in other deserts. So we're down to something that people actually do here. Like this is something that human beings are known to do, which is have ritual processions about things.
Looking at you, Stonehenge.
Yeah. The big thing for this is the wooden posts, because there are wooden posts on the Nazca Lines. These wooden posts, they tend to mark the ends of the lines, and they have also been found at approximately 1 mile intervals along them, sort of like guiding points.
Interesting.
And under the ritual procession theory, these were to help the people walking along know that they were still going in the right direction.
So, would they also have like little stands for like water as these people were doing their like little stands? Like,
oh no, it's the first marathon.
Right? Like it was, but like charity, like for fun, like charity, right?
They haven't achieved a high enough level of capitalism for that to occur.
Oh, so they actually are able to keep everyone fed normally.
Yeah.
No homelessness.
Traditionally speaking, at least.
One of the key things too with this is we've been able to carbon date the wooden stakes, because guess what? They're made of wood. That means they were alive at one point. And we find that the stakes were fashioned between 445 and 605 CE. So during the final century and a half of the Nazca culture is when these last sets of wooden stakes that were put out.
The final frontier, so to speak.
Yeah. So that is the ritual maze theory. It's like we're finally starting to get into things that human beings do. It's very nice to ground into this after talking about all the aliens and the hot air balloons and all the other silliness that goes on when archaeologists say I don't know and everyone immediately tries to fill that vacuum with random stuff.
It's like they always say it's just harmless fun. Yeah, until you say that, but when people actually, are still alive that are connected to some of these old sites, say like, no, our ancestors built it, and you tell them no,
A lot
you're
of things, a lot of these theories too, as much as people hate to admit it, they're rooted in racism and colonialism, which is kind of, it's unfortunate because it feels like a lot of our stuff in our field kind of goes back to those as the two red herrings, but it really does because again, I made reference to it earlier about how a lot of indigenous cultures were looked at as more primitive because they lived a different lifestyle, and a lot of that stuff ties into this because those same ideologies, those same beliefs trickle down into like, well, they couldn't have built this. They don't have the technology for this. And it's,
yeah, essentially aliens before aliens as an idea, it was the explanation used to be some sort of group of white people showed up and did
the
this.
lost tribe of Israel.
Yeah, like there's an old theory that said that Alexander the Great made it all the way to Southeast Asia and built Angkor Wat because
This
that was the only explanation the Portuguese and Spanish could think for why Angkor Wat's here.
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
it
Alexander the
evolved
Great.
from when they could no longer say white people did it, they moved on to, well, aliens did it because if white people couldn't do it,
Yeah.
uh,
I love
couldn't do it,
I
then it was
love the
aliens.
evolution of white people did it too, because it starts with Alexander the Great, then it goes King Solomon, then Jesus himself resurrected a second time,
Right?
then
Yeah.
then the Templar Knights once
Yeah,
those
that's
Yeah,
guys
the
fall out of
Knights
fashion.
fucking
Templar.
Oak Island.
It's
Also,
just like
don't forget Leif Erikson and the Vikings, although that was proven.
Yeah,
those
that
people were
one's
legitimate. They hit Canada, and the Canadians said no.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
They kind of just
I mean, there's
didn't.
some evidence of trade off in Nova Scotia, but yeah, the Vikings also weren't going to set up a permanent settlement.
yeah. Oh, the Vikings did, and it got trashed. The indigenous Canadian tribes were very much okay with you showing up and buying shit. Not so okay with you showing up and living there.
Yeah, a lot of it also they couldn't get continual like shipments or supplies from mainland Europe after the little ice age kind of started.
Listen, they could barely supply Iceland or Greenland. You think they're gonna freaking supply, the Hudson Bay?
Yeah, so once Greenland was taken out of the mix, it was like Finland was gone.
Yeah. Yes. And
But
that's
yes,
gonna be the next theory, right?
the
We
the
or we
chart.
do got more to
Oh, the
see. You want to?
calendar.
I was just going to kind of highlight the last point that you made before that,
Oh yeah,
Colum. I'll let you
yeah,
dive
sure.
into that.
Let
But
yeah,
the whole idea of like, hey, just talk to the indigenous, even the descendant communities, they probably have a decent idea of what's going on.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Because like the Nazca are a culture that they're not a culture that is destroyed. They're a culture that shifts, and that's pretty key. It's not it's not the populace isn't conquered and replaced.
Wait
Um,
a minute, are you telling me cultures evolve and change?
yeah, yeah,
No,
Not
I'm
in
kidding.
my neighborhood.
yeah, yeah.
That's a whole different concept.
uh, yeah. So this is the next theory is a fun one. It's a pretty standard one for whenever archaeologists say we don't know, but it is something that people do. As anyone who has ever tried to convince you that their horoscope is real does, and that is the
Oh,
astronomical calendar or star chart theory. Now, this theory focuses on the 700 radial lines specifically, and says that okay, these lines are must be an attempt to map out constellations throughout the time of the year and sort of form a giant earthen mirror of what is happening in the sky,
oh.
uh, which is a pretty baller thing to do.
Well,
That'd be pretty fun if
it
it's
is
what's
very
happening.
common to see celestial oriented designs, especially in geoglyphs and in large monumental structures. I mean, I made the reference earlier to Stonehenge, there was Newgrange. all of these sites are roughly actually about the same age as the Nazca Line. So like to have these celestial oriented bodies is not that out of the realm of possibilities. However, upon closer inspection, these lines really didn't have that connection. They didn't have the celestial origin. They didn't line up quite right. So it kind of negated that theory.
Yeah, yeah. A fun fact with these is uh, Mariah Reach was a mathematician who spent several years just doing the numbers on the lines to see if they coordinated with anything.
Oh man,
She's an example of like early women in anthropology and archaeology. Uh,
not to
Very
mention
fun
women in
figure.
STEM because it's
Yeah,
one of the kind of unsung heroes. Is a lot of women did many calculations because they were better at math than the men.
yeah,
Um, like the woman who worked for Nazca or NASA, not Nazca,
Okay.
NASA, who did all the math behind the space launches.
yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that she found was that the lines actually do map along some of the sort of geological features. Oh, not figures, features. Sorry, I am. That's two very similar sounding words, but yeah. So a lot of the geography and geology is mirrored by where these lines go, which does feed a little bit more into the ritual procession type theory rather than the star chart theory, uh, which is
Ooh.
just which is just a fun thing there, just because rituals happen. Um, it's a
And
pretty
it doesn't even have to be like fantastical ceremonial rituals. When you get up and every single day and you do your daily commute, that technically counts as a ritual. So that well, it could be something. It could be something as simple as that.
yeah. Thank you, American gods.
That's why I do rituals while I'm doing my daily rituals, like having a pentagram drawn in the park for your on the go
While
needs.
having your morning cup of coffee.
uh, yeah. That's going to bring up actually our final theory that we get to talk about here as the sort of highlight, and that is the offering to native deities theory. Now, this is your standard ritual purpose statement for an unknown artifact. However, it does have some precedent in human history. For example, if you've ever seen a monumental temple, like the Pantheon in Rome or the Parthenon in Athens or the
Back in
Hagia
ancient era.
Sophia in Istanbul, then you know that human beings like to glorify whatever higher power it is that they are following, and they will do it by any means they have available.
Again, I circle back to my statement from earlier. Humans don't change. Humans do human things, and human like build big thing.
Yeah. I believe the phrase you're looking for are people are much the same all over.
You'd be very surprised.
People big thing.
People like yeah, people don't change. We do the same shit 2,000 years ago. It's
Yeah,
just
history
it just looks
like
slightly different today.
yeah.
Said the oil Roman.
Oh no. Well, I mean, you're
That's
not wrong.
that's America's new name. We are oil Romans.
Oh, it's so we're fourth Rome now.
We are the oil Romans.
Who are the religious Romans?
We don't talk about it.
Whoa,
The
We're not
Holy
going
whoa,
through
Roman
that
Empire.
war.
that's gonna be
We're not going through
interesting.
that fight. Yeah. Uh, yeah, those are kind of the theories of the lines.
Now,
Very
for
fun.
the construction is where things get
Yeah.
real spicy. Because the way
Mhm.
that which they did it was they would basically walk the surface and clear all the rocks that covered the pampas area that they were in, and this exposed all the pink sands around and that were on the floor. And what they ended up doing was they would dig about 4 to 6 inches or about 10 to 15 centimeters for our metric friends. And then they would line that ditch with these darker stones to make the outlines. It's ingenious because you don't have to go all that deep. You don't have to do much, but they did just enough to keep it really interesting. And
And it really does display a concept of highlighting. like the acknowledgement that the ground is light, but the surface stones are dark. So if you make sure to pile up the surface stones along the light thing we're exposing, it will highlight it further. Just contrast, just understanding that, just artistic principle and using it.
Not to mention the depths of the shadow, the depths of the image. It really adds an additional layer to it. And these creators, the people behind the lines, they were very well experienced for what they were, because they ended up pre-planning the drawings. If you look, there's actually preliminary drawings that took place in 6 square foot plots, which basically etched out what the figure is going to be. You had a reference drawing, you have the blueprints right next to the actual image.
Yeah. Several reference drawings have survived and can be found. Like if you were to go onto the Pampas, you can like walk up to a number of these patterns and see the big one, and then walk like 40 feet over and see the like sketch they made of like, okay, it's going to turn here and then go straight.
Hey boss, what am I supposed to work on today? Hey, you fool, just look at the plans, look at the blueprint.
Nah, Jimmy, you're a little too far off.
Come over here. Does that look anything like that? Look at it.
Nah, Jimmy, listen, we're drawing a bird, not a penis. What are you doing?
Oh my god, they have to make mistakes, and you see just people with rakes going back over, like flattening back the desert.
Fun fact, they did make mistakes, and one of the most famous Nazca Lines is actually a mistake.
Oh, really?
Everybody has those days.
There was there's major distortion on 2 of them. Which only happens if someone did their job wrong.
I can just imagine like the person who's like in charge of that project is like standing at the very top. He's got like probably like a hand drawn one on like an animal skin or something, just like, all right, it's fine. It's fine. Doesn't bother me. Okay, it bothers me. It bothers me a lot.
Or Aaron, I counter that with the boss is coming back from an ayahuasca adventure and is just like beaten up and like, oh, I feel awful. It looks fine.
From some of the stories I've heard, it might not be ayahuasca. It might be something local. From some of the stories I've heard.
I just have the understanding that there's exactly one person on these team with like hyperfixation.
Oh yeah,
because
you can't tell me someone's not like hyper focusing on this entire project.
Oh my god!
With some of these designs, you kind of have to, otherwise it's living hell. Some of these designs are that complicated.
Colum, Aaron, we're not witnessing an artistic expression. We're seeing the witness of a competition, a design competition. All the different drawings are the different like entries into the competition.
This was one big art competition.
Yes.
What you want to do? Freaking Lego Masters 200 AD?
Yes, basically. This is like
the grand prize, an alpaca.
Yeah, the alpaca's just like.
Oh god,
it's the golden alpaca.
And behind the door, show them what they've won. This lovely alpaca set.
Oh my god, of the golden
These two
fleece.
Complete with the latest in cart technology.
I would love if they had the golden fleece though, just to tie into Greek mythology and Jason come like hunting them down.
It's a gold way. For a pair. It's like a golden alpaca and a silver alpaca. They just.
All right. Stop putting Europeans in my indigenous Americas.
Never.
Historically speaking, it's gonna happen whether you like it or not. Unfortunately.
Anyway, these lines were then further planned out on the big scale with a series of what are known as ranging poles. These are markers placed for guidance along a route. These are the wooden stakes that get referenced in the ritual maze theory as guiding posts. They are also part of the construction. In fact, they may have only been part of the construction. We don't know. It's been 1,400 years since someone built one.
Oh my god, it's the scaffolding. It's the sketch marks.
Yeah. The poles have been found at lines at about 1 mile intervals, which is about as far as you really need to see out here in the perfectly flat desert.
That's true. Yeah.
Back in the desert
Yeah.
on.
That's what
Yeah.
no one named.
And
Yes.
these poles were used to break the drawings into smaller parts, and you can actually recreate every drawing using a series of stakes placed at right angles and lines of rope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's
Straight lines are created just by tying the rope to two of the stakes and just following the rope. Curves and circles basically happen where you anchor a rope at one point with a stake and then just walk along it, keeping it taut, and that's how you make a giant curve.
I had a geometry professor used to draw perfect circles. He'd always go, "Now listen, this isn't really technically a perfect circle." And it's like he does like a perfect circle, and it's like, okay, like logically, it's probably not, but that's pretty damn close.
See,
He's
but that's where you get like the compass that basically works on a swivel using the angle, and you can dictate how wide of a.
Yeah, they
yeah, but he
basically
did
made a
this
giant
freehand.
compass. They basically made a giant compass. That's what the NASCAR are doing. They're making compasses that are a mile in radius. That is how big they're able to
With the
make it.
monumental infrastructure they're doing, that is a pretty good like increment, I will say.
Yeah.
Just
And
how the hell do you have a mile long rope?
Also,
you can make a mile long rope.
Yeah,
Once you
yeah.
figured out how to make a rope, you can just keep going forever. Once you solve the first part of that, it's like a fire. Once you solve the first part of the technology, the possibilities are limitless.
listen, imagine having to try and commission that long a rope. Like, all right, how much rope you need? About a mile.
Wait,
I'm
no,
sorry,
okay. I see this order. We need 100 spools of rope. Okay, that's doable. All
No,
right.
no. One piece.
No,
Yeah.
Aaron. That's when he's like, okay, how long do these spools need to be? Like 100 spools? That shouldn't be that long. Oh, is that 100? No. Wait, these need to be how long? That's gonna take all my material. That's gonna take years of weaving.
I'm gonna have to like deforest this entire place.
The craftsmen all run out screaming, 9 women can't make a baby in 1 month.
Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
God, there's an uptick in apprentices. How dare they? Skilled craftsmen.
Yeah. And you can even make the more complicated curves by linking smaller segments into the arc that you want. Effectively, what this is, you've got the rope anchored, and you've just got knots tied along the rope, and you're just shifting from one knot to the next.
Oh wow.
Allowing you to swivel or to make a very sharp turn.
It's so creative.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. They did all this.
Well, it seems after all this time the aliens finally got to me. So, where did we leave off? Colum was talking about the lines and the measurements.
Yes, so yeah, you can take a number of these ropes onto a single anchored point, just onto that stake, and just move between them to create, all these curves and very sharp turns that you can see on the lines. That I believe is about where we left off, was getting some of those, because you look at some of them like the spider or the hummingbird, and the articulation on the spider's legs or the hummingbird's wings requires you to effectively do almost a 180-degree pivot in a very small amount of space.
So they're basically just using I think we said, I think we hadn't
Compass.
said yet. Yeah,
Like
compass.
Yeah.
Pivot.
They're using a giant compass, and they would knot the cord on the rope so that they would have various intervals to move through, and they would understand that, okay, as you walk so far, you need to get from knot number 1 to knot number 2.
So you're telling me that again, they were just using this all with sticks and rope, right?
Yeah. 2 sticks and a rope.
See, kids these days are just gonna yell about us aliens. It's aliens. I'll tell you what, if they got off their phones for about 5 minutes, they would be able to do this outside. They'll be able to figure it out with 2 sticks and a rope to make these things. But nah, they always out there Instagrams and Snapchats.
I mean, if these kids weren't on their tablets so much, they'd be able to develop their own written language like the Inca did, using knots on ropes. They had an entire
Aliens.
message system
Yeah.
based on knots and ties.
And
Aliens.
let's
Aliens. This was all these kids are
be honest.
obsessed with.
It's Peruvian technology. It was only a matter of time before we had a knotted cord.
It was the knotted rope and the pan flutes. Peru's two #1 exports.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, one of the fun things about it is, like, we know all these things about how these lines are made. We know how they had the giant compass, the ropes, the stakes, the planning grid. We know all these things they did, but you know some of the things we don't actually know?
Their names?
No, we don't know the system of measurement in use.
Well, they
these
used
lines.
miles, didn't they?
These are at about 1 mile. The stakes are actually variable in their distance. They're averaging about a mile.
was it football fields they measured with?
Yeah.
Were they American or were they more European indigenous?
They're South American.
So did they use the metric system?
Oh, sorry.
They
So they used football fields.
Oh yes, how many football fields? How many pitches?
And this, but this fact that we don't know this actually causes problems for us as archaeologists when we try to recreate the lines or understand how the lines were made, because there are two key theories for how this would have gone down. And the first is triangulation and traverse surveying techniques. Now, what this effectively means is you are walking across the ground, you are mapping out various points, and you are drawing from there. Now, one of the issues is there is a great deal of complex math that is required for triangulation to work on some of these terms. And there's no evidence in other Nazca construction that they were using that type of math to build things, which means that they had something else.
Oh, I was not expecting a lot of math.
No, there is a reason why, like, why one of the biggest names in here, Maria Reach, was a mathematician first, and then gets the title of archaeologist because so much of her math is applied to the Nazca Lines, so much of her research.
That's an impressive feat that I don't think we talk about all that often. The people who accidentally get the title of archaeologist. There are those of us who have dedicated our life and our education to becoming one, and then there's people like her who become one.
Yeah.
I'll never live up to her.
Yeah.
You should just try doing some math.
Yeah, so it's like because just in order to get the turns right, if you're doing triangulation, transverse surveying, you need layers of math that are just not present. And it's just like, so either they had mathematical geniuses using a purely oral tradition that is completely lost and was never applied to anything other than these lines, or they're using something else. And the other theory for something else has actually been disproven.
Really?
That theory is the enlarged grid system. The idea here is that we see them plan it out in the little drawing, and then they just take that drawing, divide it up into little smaller parts, little, 5x5 grid, and then draw one segment, then move to the next segment and draw that. And this would have been an adaptation from the Nazca loom weaving techniques. This is how they made their wonderful clothings and all the wonderful patterns they're on. This is how they made clothes. So it's like, okay, it's something they have the technology for. It's something that they use in other parts of their life, same as how the symbols are used on their pottery. The grid patterning is used on their clothes. It's all coming together. Except when they make mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Everybody has those days.
Yes.
Everybody knows what.
Now, when you have one of those days with a grid system plan, the mistake is contained to a single grid. If there's distortion, it should be contained to a single section of the drawing. That doesn't happen. When distortion occurs, it occurs throughout the entire line system.
I would almost wonder the intentionality of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
There's
if we really understood the intention behind these, it would make solving how they
Because
did it
we're
easier.
currently inferring and implying that the distortions are accidental when they could very much be fully intentional.
Yeah, like maybe there was something that was like in the way,
yeah.
and
Or
like
I'm thinking maybe it's a part of their ritual cycle.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a Judeo-Christian reference, but like the walking of the different stations of the cross. You go across the different drawings that have different meanings and different stories behind them. A lot of times you see references, especially with like drawings, that hold oral tradition. It's like a visual recollection because there wasn't a
yeah,
written record. So like
Yeah.
the story
Now,
of the tall man would be the geoglyph of the man.
yeah.
yeah, because the
Uh,
people would already know the story associated with them.
yeah. Now, yeah. One of the things with the distortion is that gets to point out is the condor drawing. This is arguably the most famous drawing, or one of the most famous at the very least, of the Nazca lines. And the thing with the condor drawing is, if you look at it, uh, it appears to be set up to be symmetrical, except I believe the right wing and the right leg feature distortion, where the left wing, everything is about even, and the leg is coming down. In the right side, the leg is sort of curled up a little bit, almost like it's been shrunk, and the wing is spread out almost as if like the bird is missing every other feather. It's been distorted into sort of an arc. And if it was on a grid system, the distortion would be much more limited than that. It would be the foot or part of the wing.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
It's just one thing. And it's not, it's not bad. It doesn't overly impede the art, but you can clearly tell that like one wing has been tilted
My money's
awkward.
intentionality. I think it ties to oral tradition.
And that could be it. There is some interesting things when we get into some of the other biomorphic pictures, some of the other animal drawings, because there's some interesting intentional decisions that are being made with these with what exact animal is being depicted. That really wouldn't happen if they were just picking the nearest animal and drawing it. But yep. With the condor, we were able, however, without understanding their mathematics or their reasoning, we were able to make an exact replica of this drawing in 1983, and it followed 4 simple steps. Feel like I'm talking about. Let's go on.
Step 1. Create a miniature test plot. Step 2. Set a series of sticks at right angles to one another along the desired path. Step 3. Measure distance for the next segment with lengths of knotted cord. Step 4. Draw a line and repeat step 3 until finished. That's how you
Because
can create your own Nazca line. Be sure
Thank you
to
there,
because
follow for
Clippy.
more. Yeah.
that's all right. Now kids, go in your backyard and do these steps.
Yes.
Your
Make your
parents will
own.
love it.
Make new Nazca lines all over the
This
world.
works with rocks and sands, not dirt. But yeah, let's go for that. And so yeah, we got that's pretty much it for how these are made. We can make them even if we really can't understand them. There's some pretty famous ones. Who wants to explain which one?
Oh, we'll go
Oh,
for
we got hands. We got hands. That's right.
Los
The Nazca had
Manos.
hands.
Yep.
Oh
Los
yeah, Los
Manos.
Manos,
Oh yeah, that
which
is a fun
translate
one.
as the hands,
Was originally
was
thought to be a
originally
pair of hands.
Yep.
with a tiny abstract head.
Yep. Welcome to people not having any freaking clue what they're doing when they name it. They had no idea what they were looking at.
Apparently it is also actually a bat in a resting posture.
Yep. It's a bat hanging from a branch.
Oh
Which
yeah,
means that its
okay.
little feetsies doing this were thought to be someone with a weird head. And then its just wings out there were thought to be 2 giant hands.
Yeah, okay.
It's like,
Then you got like the condor, which is the
yeah.
largest of the animal geoglyphs,
Oh yeah,
440 feet long and almost as wide.
yeah,
That's, oh boy.
yeah. This thing is
Possibly a
massive.
condor, possibly a,
Uh,
oh no, wait, chocado,
Chalcado. Yeah,
chocado,
yeah,
chocado, a
yeah, yeah,
long-tailed mockingbird.
yeah. Both of them live in Peru. The Chacado is a bird native to the Nazca river valleys and to the general area of Nazca territory, whereas the condor would have been found on the neighboring Andean foothills.
See,
Let's
it's a
see.
mockingbird because it makes fun of the way you pronounce its name.
Although there's also a hummingbird,
Oh, yes.
320 feet long and 216 feet wide.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hummingbird is
Apparently
one of my favorites.
Peru is home to 125 recorded species of hummingbird, but this one depicts a hermit hummingbird,
Yep.
which is a subspecies indigenous to the northern and eastern parts of Peru. This decision was made to depict an exotic bird over a local one.
Yep. Because the Nazca territory really is a couple of river valleys and this desert from the foothills of the Andean Mountains to the coast. It's not particularly massive, and it certainly does not extend anywhere to what we would know today as northern Peru.
But if you want to talk about massive, the spider geoglyph is incredible. It's a 150-foot long spider. Our friends are quivering in their shoes right now. Although this one has been scarred by tourists and sightseers that have walked all over it.
Oh my God. Why do people think, yes, let me just walk on this?
Small soapbox I'm going to stand on for half a moment here. But people don't realize that tourism can actually have a detrimental effect. And we see that at some of the world's most famous sites, like Machu Picchu is suffering because of the sheer amount of tourism. The Lascaux caves in France are permanently shut down to visitors because we were causing so much damage to the cave paintings. Like, God, there's just so many examples where tourism can actually be a detriment, and this is one of them because people don't respect them. And you may not notice the tiny little 4-inch divot that you're walking over, but then you look from above and you see a line of footsteps through the.
Yeah, and it is one of those things where this is clearly careless tourism, which is arguably worse than over tourism, because over tourism is a matter of flow and governments can step in and institute restrictions. Careless tourism is, you don't know these people are going to be idiots, and then they go and be idiots. It's like the people who walk through Yellowstone to talk to the bison or
tourist
get
tossing, my favorite time of the year.
Listen, you have it coming. You have it coming.
Yeah.
Then the other big one that's out there is the monkey, which is 190 feet tall and 330 feet long. And it depicts an animal that is not native to the Nazca territories. And the presence of it hints at an extensive trade route. It gives us an insight because if it's not native to their area, but they know what it is, they know what it looks like, well, then they might have interactions with people who do.
Yeah,
someone was extra making that one.
Yeah, one of the things with the monkey is that you do not get monkeys until you reach the jungles on the other side of the Andean Mountains. The Andean Mountains are not a thin mountain range.
They're pretty big.
Yes, and the neat thing that I think is its spiraling tail inspired the national logo for Peru.
Yeah, the letter P for Peru, that is the national logo of the nation of Peru, is based off of this monkey's tail. That's how iconic the tail is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Nazca Lines are just these really interesting enigmas because you don't see anything quite like it anywhere else in the world. Not to this scale, not to this degree, and not to this quality. So it really is kind of a cool site, and it's something that a lot of people may have heard about, but they may not know a crazy amount about.
And it wasn't aliens, damn it!
It was not aliens.
It was the Nazca. And with that, I think we're going to bid you a very happy conclusion to season 2. We hope to see you all back here for season 3. And for sticking with us so long, I'd like to, here at the end, give you a little rundown of what we've prepared for the next season. So with that, I'm going to take it away with our season 3 lineup. It's a fun little thing we can do at the end of the year now.
Yes.
So kicking off season 3, we have the Conites.
Cons part 2. Cons part 2.
Yeah. Followed by the First Crusade that's going to come out at Christmas time.
That was mine.
A heartwarming story, truly.
That one was my idea.
Yep. The All Thing of Iceland.
Ooh.
Yep. I can list them all. We don't have to cheer for each one. Don't worry, everybody.
You better all cheer, damn it.
Like, read up to, I'd say, episode 60 or 61.
Yeah, sure. The Mughal Empire, the Boer Wars, Steve Irwin and the Australian Zoo.
I'm excited for that. That's going to be our first biographic episode.
Yep. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth.
Yeah, that one was also me.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, you don't have to claim every single one.
I think that one was me. The Mayan city-states, the Titanic, and Sherman, and Sherman's March to the Sea.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a good place to end it off right there.
That's the next few months lined up for you, and we hope to see you there and for the rest of the surprising episodes we have after.
Oh, it gets even spicier. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, comment aliens, and we'll see you in the next one.
What?